28th, 2026. I'd like to call the meeting to order. I would like to call the meeting to order and start with a roll call.
Commissioner Deng, Commissioner Kleinhaus, Vice Chair Wei,
Here.
Chair Freeman,
Here.
Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Smith,
Here.
and Commissioner Axelrod.
Yes.
We have 4 present, which means we have quorum.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, now we'll open it up for public comments on items not on the agenda. If you're here in person and would like to speak, please fill out a speaker card and hand it to the clerk. If you're joining by Zoom for open comments, we have, due to a recent policy change, we'll be hearing Zoom comments at the end of the meeting. So do we have any speakers in person?
Yes, we have currently 6 speakers in person and 1 on Zoom.
Okay, Zoom we're doing after, okay.
Sounds good. Our first speaker is Thomas S. Looks like Thomas has disappeared. So our next speaker will be Clerk K.
How long do I have to speak?
You have 1 minute.
Starting
As soon as you speak.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm here today to talk about the conversion or the potential conversion of tennis courts at Mitchell Park into pickleball courts. And I know it's been a subject of discussion on a number of different venues and a number of different occasions and meetings previously, but I just wanted to add one yet final thought, and that is that no one is against pickleball. It's a wonderful sport, and it's great for everybody that plays it, and the health benefits are extraordinary. My fear is simply that the Mitchell Park will become a pickleball park, and Mitchell Park was never designed to be a pickleball park. It was designed as a multi-use facility where the community could come and engage in all sorts of recreation. And the expansion of 15 to 23 pickleball courts in Mitchell Park will essentially make it the Mid-Peninsula Pickleball Center for all of the Mid-Peninsula, not just for the Palo Alto community, which is not in and of itself bad. But what is kind of bad is that it limits the ability of other citizenry of Palo Alto and beyond to use the park as a recreation center for recreation other than pickleball. Thank you very much.
Up next, we have Juanita S.
Good evening, Commissioners. 10 years ago, with the city's permission and countless volunteers, I created the Primrose Way Pollinator Garden. Since then, we've added 6 more gardens and are in the process of creating a habitat corridor along Embarcadero Road. These gardens are the foundation for a larger vision, transforming Palo Alto into a city in a park by bridging the gap between the Baylands and the Foothills Nature Preserves. To build upon this foundation, we need permanent expert stewardship. If the city is serious about the expansion of these spaces, it is time to create a habitat manager position equipped with a dedicated staff and budget. This is the blueprint for how a city can take the passion of a volunteer effort and build it into permanent green infrastructure. Let's build a Palo Alto that is a city in a park and be the model for the rest of California.
Thank you. The next speaker is Harriet S.
Hi there, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all tonight. For the past 4 years, I've been organizing programs for Magical Bridge. Magical Bridge was founded, when Magical Bridge was founded 16 years ago, to provide a place of sanctuary and joy for people with disabilities in that remote corner of Mitchell Park. No one could have imagined that right next door would be a regional center for allowed racket sports with hundreds of people cycling through every day. As pickleball has increased at Mitchell Park, I personally have seen a decrease of visitors at the playground. It's difficult to park anywhere, let alone close, and if they can't park close, many disabled people will skip the playground altogether. If someone is triggered by the constant repetitive pop of the ball hitting the racket, they probably stop coming to the playground. It's not just people with sensory sensitivities. Last weekend, I was working with a scout troop on their Disability Awareness Merit Badge, and I couldn't even hear them present their good work at our community stage. I had to move right next to them.
Your time has expired. Next up, we have Mark W.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your service. My name is Mark Weiss. I live in Palo Alto, and I organize a series of concerts at Litton Plaza. I also do events at Mitchell Park Outdoors and at several indoor facilities, Mitchell Park Community Center, Palo Alto Arts Center, Lucy Stern. And I produced my first concert there in a bit of a while. I've done more than 50 events there in the last 6 years or so. And I noticed a change that I hadn't noticed before, and there's an installation of some new green metal tables and fixed chairs, benches, and they sort of obstruct where we would normally set up the band facing the fountain. The table is sort of smack dab in the middle of the plaza, where the fountain sort of forms a natural place to sit and watch. And we had to move our stage about 50 feet south and tilt it back towards the fountain. So I'm wondering, I guess I wasn't at the meeting when this was deliberated. I know one of the commissioners especially, or two of you, have taken quite an interest in the plaza. And I just want to wonder if we could move the benches a little bit, 50 feet to the right, to the north. Thank you.
And then lastly, we have Leslyn L.
My name is Thomas Nguyen, but it's not been on the list of public comment.
It was about Thomas.
Yeah. I don't know why somebody put Thomas S.
Why don't you just go, Thomas?
Okay, so can I speak? Thanks. Sorry about that. Good evening, Commissioners. So I'm here to talk about the tennis court at Mitchell Park. So I'm a recently retired, and I enjoy tennis. I mean, I played before, so finally I'm getting back in because minted retiree, and I heard that we only have 4 active tennis courts left, and if it's converted into pickleball, it's going to really basically take the spot away from what I need. And a lot of people I'm there is impromptu, where we actually meet up without any complicated, scheduling. We just meet up and we start playing, so it's great. So I just want equitable. I don't want things to taken away, because as it is right now, I notice that there are plenty of pickleball courts at Mitchell Park, because we have facts here. We got about 7. There are only 4 active tennis courts available. So I would appreciate that somehow we can keep the remaining tennis courts that is, to be tennis courts. And I greatly appreciate that. And I hope that we can maintain the status quo as it is right now. Thank you.
Okay, lastly, we have Leslyn L.
Hi, I play both tennis and pickleball regularly, and in fact, tennis for 21 years since when we first moved here, and pickleball in the last couple of years. I do it at Mitchell Park, and I love both places. Pickleball is truly fun. As our first speaker said, Mitchell Park is a unique park, and actually it was so unique because that's why one of the reasons we moved out here was those spouting water things, for the kids. So basically, there's other groups that have been silent that need to be considered. Basically families who use those picnic tables. There's a summer event concerts, New York, and children who use the play structures, open space. Of course, the handicapped children. That's a big deal because that magical playground is renowned. And seniors doing Tai Chi, early morning walks, and of course the sporting people, the soccer, pickleball, tennis, and then residents who just want green open space to contemplate and have quiet. So basically my goal is that both groups should be accommodated. As a pickleball player, I definitely feel like there should be some more courts. But however, we need to take into account these other groups, because we can't let their silence mean that they're not going to get affected or their needs won't be met. And so basically, in our next meeting, I'd ask you guys to respectfully consider, how do we provide more pickleball courts while ensuring that the many users and activities at Mitchell Park are maintained? Because the balancing of many different uses need to be maintained, because Mitchell Park is for all. Thanks.
There are no additional speakers in person. However, there still are 2 on Zoom.
Okay, thank you. And thank you to everyone who spoke today. We appreciate you taking the time to share your comments. Appreciate that. Okay, let's move to agenda changes, additions, and deletions. Are there any proposed changes, additions, and deletions to the agenda today? Staff? Commissioners? Okay. All right. Let's move to the next item, approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes to approve. We have February 24th, 2026, and the March 24th, 2026 agenda. I get a motion to approve. Any comments on the agenda for February 24th, 2026?
So moved.
Any second?
Second.
Okay. Take a vote.
Commissioner Deng, Commissioner Kleinhaus, Vice Chair Wei,
Yes.
Chair Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
and Commissioner Axelrod.
Yes.
Okay, that is 5-2. Motion carries.
Okay, can I get an approval for the minutes for March 24th, 2026?
So moved.
Second? In seconds?
Second.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Axelrod,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Abstain.
Chair Freeman,
Yes.
Vice Chair Wei,
Yes.
Commissioner Kleinhaus, and Commissioner Deng. Okay, that would mean that it's 4-1, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, no council liaison report this evening, so we'll move to the department report.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. While the slide deck's being pulled up, I'll kick it off. I'm Sarah Robustelli, Division Manager for Open Space Parks and Golf. The first slide will highlight one of our wonderful events that just occurred, the Earth Day Festival, which took place Sunday, April 19th at the Art Center from 1 to 4. The day was filled with a lot of fun and sustainability. And we had roughly about 400 attendees. So a lot of fun was had by all, and we appreciate some of the commissioners who attended. If you advance to the next slide. We're going to highlight 3 upcoming events to kind of mark your calendar. We have May Fete Parade, that this year's theme is Not All Heroes Wear Capes. This is taking place Saturday, May 2nd, so really coming up here, right around the corner. And it starts at 10 a.m. and goes until 1. And you can gather with friends and family to join us and recognize and celebrate with folks in our community who use their talents each day to improve our quality of life. Honor our heroes, and that's this year's theme. So we hope you can join us, and the festivities continue over at Heritage Park, which will supply some updates about that park as well later in the report. In the center there, we have our upcoming movie nights. It's a summer family affair, and we invite you to our 6th annual. The location will be held at Mitchell Park Athletic Fields. Seating starts at 7, and the movie does start at sunset. Our first movie will take place on June 5th, and all of the available dates are also available on the city's website. So our first movie is Dog Man, and we invite you to bring your blanket, lawn chairs, snacks for a fun-filled event. Can't wait to see you there. And then the flyer on the right-hand side, we're happy to report that there's already 12 teams that are signed up for the chili cook-off happening on the 4th of July. And we invite you, if you're interested in cooking, the commissioners, you were all sent an invite to be a judge this year. So we look forward to more teams, hopefully, and a very exciting event. If you advance to the next slide, we have our Coverly updates. If you have not signed up yet for those updates, we have a project web page, and you'll get all your updates there. And then I just wanted to highlight that staff has been working with a native plant expert who actually was in the audience earlier, Juanita Salisbury. She has developed a native planting palette that will help support our ecologic goals and also maintain clear visibility throughout the park. The community services staff will plan to do a team building planting work party there next week. So improvements are coming, and we're really excited to share those with you in our next departmental report next month. If you advance to the next slide. We really want to spotlight some of our volunteer work that's been taking place throughout the city. On the left-hand side, this is Rivian, a team of volunteers from that company, and they're volunteering weeding out at Eleanor Party Park, Community Gardens. And then in the center there, we have a group of hopefully soon to be an Eagle Scout. This was a project that they built raised beds at Ventura Community Garden. So really excited to see all the great work happening around town. And then if you would advance to the next slide, we also have more spotlight for our volunteers with Kiwanis Club. They did a huge upgrade and painted all of the site amenities there at Briones Park. In addition, they also made a split rail fence that is not featured, but it's there and it's looking excellent. So again, big thank you to our volunteers throughout the community. And then if you advance to the next slide, some other work that's been taking place right across the way from Rankinata Library and the Art Center is Hopkins Park. And we've made some improvements there. There was overgrown vegetation, and on the left-hand side, you'll kind of see a fence that was at its end of life. And it really, on the right-hand side, showcasing kind of the cleaned up. We also installed new windscreens there. So really neat and tidy, and looking forward in the upcoming months to also resurface those courts. So this is all in preparation and sequencing for the work to be done. And if you advance to the next slide, which I spoke a little bit about, prepping for the May Fete Parade. We're also timing, kind of rounding out some of our Heritage Park site amenities project. This is a CIP. You'll see our city staff installing our brand-new sign. And we also today, I didn't get a photo of it, but we also have a new three-sort receptacle that was added. This is something that we've heard from the community and are adding that as a response. So really excited about these upgrades, and that is the conclusion of our departmental report this month.
Could I mention Heritage Park? I'm sorry.
Sorry. Thank you for thank you for the report, and we look forward to a lot of the things that you guys are doing. And I'll just open it up to the commissioners in case anyone has any questions. Commissioner.
Sorry, Chairman. At Heritage Park, I understand there's now a gate from the playground to the new bathroom at the museum.
I know that work, I haven't been out there yet to see it, but I believe that work, you're correct, has been completed.
That's a wonderful addition for moms, children, and old people like me. Thank you.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner.
Yeah,
Vice
great
Chair.
presentation as whole, and I was hoping to attend the festival, the Earth Day, but was under the weather, but I'm looking forward to May 14, and thanks for the great work.
Yeah, a lot of things going on. I'm glad to hear about the 12 teams for the chili cook-off. How many did we have last year?
I believe last year I think I reported on this last year and I didn't refresh, but I believe it was something similar. We had, I remember an increase, maybe we had 14, and I believe a team dropped out at the end. But I'm also looking. Oh, we ended at 10.
What?
So we have more teams this year currently than we did last year.
Okay. And what's the cutoff for teams to enter? Because you could end up with more, right?
Oh, we are still taking teams, and 20 is the maximum. And let me just turn to Adam to see if he knows the cutoff date. It's 3 weeks prior. 3 weeks prior, so I would say early June.
Okay. And so we'll continue to put the word out to try and get more teams. And of course, a lot of those teams are spreading the word themselves, so that'll be a good thing as well. I also want to give a shout out to the volunteers, and I guess that would be the Rivian and the Kiwanis Club. And I'm speaking with Eric yesterday about the community garden. Sounds like they did a really stellar job out there, so it's nice to have a group that's willing to come out and help the community. Heritage Park, I live pretty close to that, and every time I walk by, there's something new that pops up. So I saw the sign, I think it was yesterday, or maybe it was today, I don't remember seeing that before, so it really looks good, so thanks for that. That park is really a very active park. A lot of little small people and big people are taking advantage of it. So now that they've extended it out to whatever that road is, by the new museum, that's great as well. So good job on that. And could you give a little bit more detail on what you just indicated about Cubberley?
Oh, currently, no real updates because you did have a report on it last month. So no new updates as of now. But I do know that after, I believe, our PRC meeting, there was content that was shared throughout the website. So again, if you're not signed up through that website to get updates, those can be sent directly to your inbox.
Okay. And then lastly, the movie nights. This is this is the first movie for this year?
Correct. So this is the 6th year that the city of Palo Alto will be having the outdoor movie nights. And the first movie will be held June 5th.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Sorry, one question.
Commissioner Brown?
We had a comment during public comment about adding benches and tables in a park improvement area. Can you speak to the process for maybe that improvement or other improvements? They don't necessarily all come to the PRC for discussion and approval, but what level of community engagement is done with neighbors or users of the park for those improvements?
Yeah, great question. So it kind of depends on site specific. So I guess speaking to the general public, if we are doing an in-kind replacement, right, very little outreach, if any, is done. That is more of a maintenance-based, so it stays at staff level. However, when it's a capital project, there is a robust community engagement process, which involves stakeholder meetings, open public meetings, typically also this commission receives updates. And then something addressing kind of, or speaking to the Lytton Plaza updates. There is a friends group that we worked with who are owners of the actual nearby buildings that we engage with. Also, we have city manager's office in addition to recreation that we work with to make sure locations of items are placed in ways that are conducive for those stakeholders. So they're, again, just site specific.
Thank you.
Commissioner Alcarod?
Yep, lots of great updates as always. I had the pleasure of attending Earth Day. I saw you there, so that was awesome. I don't know if it's too much of a good thing, but there still was a lot of traffic when it closed down, and I saw a lot of families. They're like, oh, we just missed the lottery. And like, I don't know if there's any room to stretch it out to go even a little bit later, but it seemed like people were quite happy to keep going.
Great feedback. We're having a debrief of internal staff tomorrow, so I'll make sure to take that feedback to them.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no more lights. Again, good job on the report. We'll move on to item number 3 on the agenda, which is the ad hoc committees and liaison updates. Any updates from any ad hocs that you want to bring the commission up to date on? Commissioner Axelrod.
Sure, I'll start since I had the floor. So on Cubberley, it's going to go to General Council on May 18th to present the final version of the master plan and the CEQA. And poll number 4 is completed, but the results are not summarized yet. That'll be available through staff on May 7th. So I think we'll be hearing a lot more on that in upcoming meetings. And on open space, there's a lovely presentation with Commissioner Smith's daughter there as well about the interpretive center. It's still early stages, but the designs there look really good, and they're starting to move forward with fundraising and finalizing. It should really be a big boost to the space. We'll keep you apprised as things move forward there.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner, Vice Chair.
Yeah, nature connectivity, Commissioner Shani Kleinhaus meeting up to look into the scope of it, and when we are ready, we're going to engage the staff for that, for discussion.
Other commissioners? Okay, I'll just give an update on the park dedication. We still have the no reportable action on the park dedication of Ventura, other than we should be hearing back from planning this week on the next steps. This is regards to that, the Saving the Memorial concept, site concept at Ventura that was brought to the commission at our retreat and earlier email with public comments. So I'll continue to keep the commission updated on that. Hopefully at the next meeting, we'll have more to report on that. As far as the golf wetlands update, let me provide a brief update on the wetlands at work at the golf course. Lemdo provided some information on that. So as you may recall, the remedial wetland work completed last fall focused on test plots with a variety of plant species. And now that we're into the spring session, the city's ecology consultant has evaluated how those tests are performing. So based on those results and consistent with the original plan, the city will be expanding planting in the additional wetland areas this coming fall. That work will continue to be monitored and adjusted as needed to ensure we're meeting the desired ecological outcomes. He also reported that in addition to this year, the city issued a request for proposal for formal ongoing wetland monitoring and reporting. And so he's pleased to share that the consultant has now been selected. So hopefully that'll be something that'll be in your report next meeting. So that monitoring is expected to begin later this year, pending city council approval of the contract, which is currently scheduled for May 4th. So I'll pause if there's any questions on that. And the only other thing on Parks Group updates is we've had several conversations regarding the skate park renovation project. Not a lot happening with that. I believe there is someone who's kind of taking the lead on that, so we'll hear more about that in hopefully at the next meeting. And that falls under our Park Group's updates. And that's nothing from the safe routes. And then, don't want to forget all the excellent work. Eric and I sort of did a kind of a walkthrough in the community garden yesterday. So a lot of should be applauding Eric for the fine job he's been doing. Him and the community garden liaisons have been doing as far as working on reducing the wait list on the various community gardens that we have. I think he indicated that we have several, the wait list has gone down from like 100 plus in some areas to down to 10 to down to 0 in some of the other parks. I'm sure we'll have more to be said about that at some other point in time. So there's been a significant reduction in the wait list, and the cleanup across the gardens are going well. As a matter of fact, I was out there weekend before last doing my 4 hours, I guess it is, right, of community garden work to as far as that required work on having a plot. Also, we talked a little bit about the community garden policy update. So that is currently being reviewed internally by Eric and staff. And once they have got that together and met with the community garden liaisons, then that will be coming to the commission at some point in the year for our approval to take that to the next step. So that's it. I just want to again thank Eric and the garden coordinators for the fine work that they've been doing since you took over on that. So keep up the good work. We appreciate it. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is number 4, with the Foothills Nature Preserve improvements.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Megha Bansal. I'm a senior engineer with Public Works Department and also the project manager for Foothills Nature Preserve Improvements Project. I'm joined by Mike Warner, supervising ranger in the Community Services Department. So we are here tonight to provide an informational update on the Foothills Nature Preserve Improvements Project and to seek your feedback as we finalize the project design and prepare a park improvement ordinance. Next slide. So in the next few slides, I'll go over some background information about the project, as well as summarize the outreach effort that informed the proposed improvements and development of the current updated improvement plan, as well as some timeline and next steps. Next slide. So as we all know, Foothills Nature Preserve was open to the general public in December 2020 that resulted in a significant increase in the number of visitors to the preserve. This increase led to some impacts, such as visitors walking off trail into sensitive areas. There were safety concerns due to pedestrians sharing the narrow preserve roads with vehicular traffic. There were confusion due to lack of signage and unmarked parking areas, as well as some traffic violations. So these issues required some access, safety, and parking improvements throughout the preserve. Next slide. So this slide lists all of the outreach efforts on the project. As you can see, the outreach for this project has been ongoing since 2021 that helped identify improvement needs as well as develop an improvement plan and refine that plan over the last few years. I will not go over each of these meetings, but I would like to focus on the most recent commission meeting that happened in October of last year. At that meeting, staff presented a reduced project scope, prioritizing safety and access improvements within the preserve, which was consistent with council direction in September of last year. The commission was supportive of that proposed plan and provided feedback such as adding back the gravel parking lot across Boronda Lake, as well as adding more benches in the Vista Hill area. There was also a feedback from this commission to add or include accessible parking in the Boronda Lake area, as well as there was some traffic control discussion. So since then, staff has refined the design and we have incorporated commission feedback received in the October meeting, which I will go over in the next slide. So here is the updated improvement plan that has been developed based on commission's feedback and all of the prior feedback from open space liaisons and further review of the design and site constraints. Many elements of this plan has not changed since the commission has seen this plan in October, but for the benefit of newer commission members, I will walk through this plan. So the proposed improvements include designated pedestrian pathways along Preserve Road, connecting entrance, Boronda Lake, and Vista Hill areas. These pathways will be 3 to 4 feet wide. There may be gaps within the pathways to preserve existing trees. So just a refresher that this project is not proposing removing any trees within the preserve. There will also be asphalt curb or boulders that will be utilized as safety barrier between the pedestrian pathways and vehicular traffic. These pathways are shown by pink and blue lines on this exhibit. The parking improvements within the preserve consist of primarily delineating and reconfiguration of the existing parking in Vista Hill areas and Boronda Lake areas. However, the plan will remove some of the parallel gravel parking at the entrance road and in the Boronda Lake area. So per commission's feedback in October of last year, staff has added back the gravel parking lot across Boronda Lake to make up for those removed parking or removed parallel gravel parking, and to also improve access in that area. Another improvement per commission's feedback is that staff is converting 2 spaces in the existing Boronda Lake parking lot as accessible parking. And then 2 of those spaces will be converted into turnaround zone. Some additional improvements around Vista Hill, again, per commission's feedback, is that we have added additional benches for viewing, and the access asphalt on the west side of Vista Hill will be removed to return it to its natural state. In addition to that, the improvements also include traffic control features such as crosswalks, speed humps, or speed tables, and some signage to improve safety. The red triangle that you see at the south intersection of Vista Hill indicates a new dirt island that would enforce one-way traffic in that area, and I will go over that in more detail in subsequent slides. Next slide. So this slide just lists the same improvements that I just went over. In the subsequent slides, I would like to highlight some of the changes that were made to the plan since the commission heard this item in October. So can we move on to the next one? As I mentioned, a new dirt island with asphalt curb will be added at the south intersection of Vista Hill. So the left image shows the existing one-way road. There have been some incidences in the past that has been a safety concern. So staff is proposing an a dirt island in that area that would basically enforce one-way traffic and also guide vehicles to stay on designated route. This replaces the previously proposed tiger teeth in this area, tiger teeth spikes. Upon further review and consultation with our transportation division, staff identified that it was not a suitable application for tiger teeth spikes. Next slide. So this slide shows the existing area, the Y connection across Boronda Lake, which will have a new gravel parking lot on the right image. Next slide. This was another commission's feedback to add an accessible parking in the Boronda Lake area. So 2 of the existing spaces will be converted into an accessible parking, which is shown with this blue box, and 2 of those existing will be converted into a turnaround zone for vehicles to safely turn around. Next slide. So after today's meeting, staff plans to return to the commission in May for recommendation of a park improvement ordinance to City Council. Meanwhile, staff is finalizing the project design and construction documents by summer of this year, followed by council adoption of the PIO tentatively planned for summer of this year, and then bidding and construction by fall and winter of this year. So with that, I turn it over to the commission for questions.
Thank you for the presentation. Also, thank you for the material that you provided was very, very well done and very easy to understand, and the things that we need to make questions, ask questions about. Also, I want to remind the commission that this is just an informational session. There's no motion to vote on anything because it will be coming back to the commission, I think you said in May, next month.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, before we go to public comments, I will open it up to any commissioners that would like to ask any clarifying questions for information that might not have been clearly understood. Anyone? Commissioner Kleinhaus.
Are there any retention walls needed for this project anywhere? Retaining walls?
No, there's no retaining wall as part of this project.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I guess I'll.
Commissioner, Vice Chair.
Thanks so much for the great presentation. This is one of my favorite parks in Palo Alto, and we go to there a lot. Quick question about the parking. Is the challenge currently the parking is the main concern? That's why the island is built. There's also parking spots in the Vista Hill area as well, right? The total count is not sufficient after it's open to the whole Bay Area. Is that the main challenge?
So currently, the park does have enough parking for the amount of vehicles that are allowed by ordinance. So I think we currently have a cap of 250 based on previous count formulas that the city used. The commission and city council also capped the total population of visitation per day at 600 visitors. So currently, just general parking is about 292 parking spaces within the preserve, and I don't know how many there were coming out net afterwards.
So we are.
Okay. Yeah. So we're removing 9 parallel parking stalls, is what I'm being told. So we still have more than 40 additional spaces than what our cap is.
Yes, so is this the sign posting the problem? Because people from outside different cities probably not aware different places to park. And so my slight concerns, it's fundamentally a preservation area, and it's not just a park, right? So we want to keep that natural preservation as a priority of this beautiful park.
So it's kind of multifaceted. One is for the aestheticness of the park. If all of you have been up to Foothills at one point or another, driving into the park, that view that you first get looking out over Baranda Lake is part of that. The second part of it is fire fuel protection or reduction. Reducing the chances of ignition points. So people parking on vegetation is a natural, a lot of fires in the state of California started that way. So reducing those interactions between vehicles and vegetation. Third is just also trying to make it more an efficient space and more of a space that is easier to use. So grouping, maybe if a lot of people want to go to the lake, grouping parking at the lake. We have a lot of people that want to go to Vista Hill, correcting kind of how we do parking at Vista Hill. We're not, as a net, we're not reducing. We're still within our limits that are set by City Council and the Commission. We're just kind of reappropriating where we need resources.
Yeah, guiding them to the right place.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks for the great work. Thank you.
Commissioner Al-Sarraj.
Thank you. Yeah, amazing park, one of our best. So I'm excited to see things moving forward. This is not a trivial project, and can you just help me understand what does success look like? Let's say it's all done in 3 years. What are the top things that we're looking for to happen that aren't happening right now? And do we have a way of measuring that we got what we wanted?
At least on the park operations side of things, what we see as a success would be reduction in issues with speed, so traffic collisions with either animals or vehicles into objects or people in the park. The second part of it would be an improvement, easier access for folks getting around the park. For me, I know one of the spots that we're hopefully trying to correct here is if you're coming into Foothills, you come up over that hillside and there's that big sweeping left-hand turn. Because the shoulder is not improved, pedestrians end up usually in the roadway right there, and it's, even with brush clearing that's been done by staff over the last few years, it's still very much a blind corner, and we want to get people off the roadway, get them into a safer spot so they're out of the line of traffic.
And is there planned to be any kind of berm, or is it just visual distinction between walking path and vehicle path?
It's going to plan to be a asphalt. Well, there is already a curb there. It's just been buried by sediment, and it's just be cleaning that up and putting it back in service.
Yeah, the pedestrian pathways will be made of quarry fines material, which is also in Arastra Preserve. And we are planning to utilize existing asphalt curb or existing boulders as much as feasible as safety barrier between the pathway and vehicular traffic.
Thank you.
I apologize, I missed this, but can you briefly highlight what was removed from the original scope to get us on the reduced version?
So as we presented in October meeting, the original plan was to have pedestrian pathways all along Preserve Road, all the way to Interpretive Center. So based on council direction in September last year, we reduced the project scope to have pedestrian pathways in higher use areas, which were identified as Boronda Lake and Vista Hill areas. So that's why you do not see the pedestrian pathway continue. Also in the original plan, we had split rail fencing that was taken care of park rangers. I believe there were bus parking that was eliminated. Do you? Go ahead.
I'll add in about the split rail fencing. So I think there was about 1,200 feet of split rail fencing that was asked to be put in to protect the grasslands kind of to the southwest of Vista Hill. What we found is as we came out of the pandemic, usage leveled out, that there wasn't as much of a demand, and there was increased education, signs put in by staff that eventually persuaded most visitors to stay out of that grassland and protect it. And it hasn't been as much of a problem, so we reduced that and didn't go forward with that fencing. If you've been up to Foothills, you might have seen the boulders along the road on that section. That's encouraged people not to go out there.
Okay. How confident are you that the new layout will improve traffic flow, and especially on busy weekends?
Especially with the addition of the speed humps that Mega was talking about, is I think it will help slow down traffic through the preserve. First and foremost, protecting the wildlife, and then, like I said, other users in the area. I think it'll also improve when we do get busy at the lake. We have a lot of parking right on that viewpoint that you can't really get to see the park. So you're very much on the road and you're looking at all these parked cars right along the road. So it takes away kind of from that visual aesthetic as you're going into the park. Okay. So I think it'll improve that experience, especially for folks who maybe can't get out and hike as much, and they're kind of, vehicle bound for their trip to the park. It improves their experience.
One last question. I can't remember if the commission made the recommendation or you guys on the tagger teeth. It sounds like you had a lot of discussion, tagger claws, I guess you're right.
Yeah.
A lot of discussion on not using those, but we had talked about using it before. What changed on that?
So the suggestion had come from someone who no longer works for the city, but it's, Meg and I went back to transportation and discussed it further, decided this is probably not appropriate for this spot. And it was actually kind of a suggestion of our consultant who also had this idea for adding the dirt island to kind of direct people more than stopping vehicles from going down the wrong way on the one-way road. Is making it very hard for someone to be able to do that using natural barriers.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Cliles.
One question relates to the question that the Vice Chair asked. I didn't understand, do we see full capacity? How often do you see full, like all the parking spots are taken and there's actually an overflow or you can't let people in or something?
So the last time that we reached full capacity, I believe, was Christmas weekend in 2020. There might have been a few times where it came very close to just after that, but then once we implemented the $6 entry fee, that slowed a lot of the visitation. But to put it into an example, though, we got on Easter weekend this year, on Saturday, we had approximately 215 vehicles. We were down to 35 spaces left, at least as far as what our limit. We're more often that we're going to hit our limit as guided by council and commission than we are going to hit total parking spots. So that's something that we have to watch out for.
Thank you. And so do we have an oversupply? And maybe not all of this is needed. I'll talk about that later. I have another question which came up from, I think, some of the public and maybe some commissioners who are not here anymore, about what does it visually look like, the additions, like the crossings and bumps and all these things, and signs, are those designed for nature preserves, or is that the same as in downtown area? This question was asked before.
Yeah, and those crosswalks and speed tables will follow city's standard design. We did consult with our transportation division, and since the proposed improvements are more for safety, staff's recommendation is to be consistent with city's standards. And we made some changes, such as some of the signs will be on wooden posts just to align it with the nature preserve. Also, we are removing excess asphalt in the Vista Hill area. Some of those changes we are doing to keep that natural look. But for these items, staff recommends keeping those standards just because.
Okay. So I have another question, follow up on that. Do you have like real good visuals to include in the next packet before it comes back, so people, the commission and people, can see what it actually looks like? And I think also clearly how many of these things, because it looks like there's a lot of it on this, and this is a nature preserve. I understand we need to be safe, but I don't want to see the nature preserve, well, I guess I can keep it for later, but become more of an urban street. And so that came up before. Concern continues. I understand that you have to balance things, but we can talk about that later. And my last question is about CEQA. It says here that the project is a minor improvement, and so it's exempt. And my question is, did you even try to do a checklist or something other than, we don't need to worry, we have our standards, we have our best practices, we're fine? Because I think it would be nice to have that, those best practices that are applied to projects. This is a big project. It's not a minor little thing. And so to me, this needs a mitigated negative declaration. Maybe it doesn't go to that level, but I don't think that a minor improvement to existing facilities fits this project. And this is something that I'm very concerned with. I guess I should have, but can you tell me why it's okay? Like, this is a minor project that in a nature preserve.
Yeah, so we did go through minor ARB review, and we received approval based on the proposed improvements. And
The ARB approved it?
Minor ARB, so that is a staff level review of projects. I think, I'm not sure about all of the details about that, but we can provide further detail. We did receive that minor ARB review.
Yeah, that is not right for this one. I will just say it. It's not right. This is a nature preserve. It's not right to do a minor, this is not a minor project. And it's, anyway, and I think at least then next time, even if it remains, without proper CEQA, then the types of best practices, standards, I'm not sure when is the right time to talk about everything because I have more, but for example, I know you do a bird nesting survey before you do into construction, but I would like to know more about it. What is the window? How far do you test? There's so many things here that, it's right on top of the lake. It's not exactly a minor improvement that doesn't need transparency in terms of the mitigations.
Any other commissioners for clarifying questions? Okay, that's very helpful and gives us a clearer picture of both the improvements and the trade-offs. So with that, let's go ahead and open it up for public comments.
We have one person in here for public comments. We have no one in Zoom. So first up would be Karen H.
Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you. You do a very, very important job in our town. We're very proud of our parks and certainly our nature preserves, which we have a couple. So I was looking through this, and I wish I'd gotten involved earlier, but just couldn't. I serve on the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District Board. I'm speaking tonight as an individual. I bring that up because we deal with these kinds of issues regularly. It's the balance of nature and the use, people versus nature, habitat versus parking. So a few comments here. One is on the main map, the map that has some keys on it. I'm looking at that map, and I'm used to seeing maps that have an N for new and an E for existing, and some of the things on that map don't have any indication if they're new, especially on Vista Hill. I'll just focus on that one at the moment. Especially on Vista Hill, there shows some parking areas, but it doesn't say if they're new, if they're reconfigured, or if they're relocated. There's no indication, so I'm somebody looking at this for the first time. I don't know what to make of it. There are other things, so like, same thing, no keys, like crosswalks, asphalt, curbs, those sorts of things. They aren't necessarily indicated whether they are new or not. So a comment about, and I think I just heard Commissioner Kleinhaus bring this up. One of the other things that we deal with, and I'm really focused on this at Mid-Penn, is in parking lots and on roadways and on paths. We have a real responsibility to maintain the character of our preserves. And so introducing, in San Mateo County, we are not in San Mateo County, thankfully. In San Mateo County, there is a requirement that, well, there's a reason for that, Roger, that I'm bringing up. I'll tell you about it now. So in San Mateo County, if you pave a parking lot, you automatically have to stripe it and use urban signage and urban colors. And it really degrades. It really, really, really degrades from the experience once you get to the preserve. So I'm just putting that out there as a comment, like, please be cautious about what you're introducing into a preserve, whether it's natural or not. And what I'm going to point you to, and hopefully staff will take a look at this too, is there is something called the Yosemite Design Guidelines. And it is a beautiful document. And Yosemite, we are not Yosemite, but my goodness, we can learn from what the work is that they have done in terms of roadways, different sites, how they deal with the design, how they deal with compatibility in a natural setting. And Foothills Preserve is one of our...
Your time has expired.
Could I just make one more, Chair, could I make just one more comment? Regarding CEQA, it was one of the comments that I was going to have too. I'm a little concerned that it's categorically exempt because, again, there's no indication of like if some of this parking is new parking, is it be going in disturbed areas, undisturbed areas? If the roadways, I'm pretty familiar with Foothills Park, the roadways are pretty narrow and curvy, so if we're going to put in pathways for human beings, are we going to need to expand that roadway for a path into undisturbed areas where there's vegetation, maybe habitat? And above Baranda Lake, it's very steep. So are we going to have a retaining wall there, which is a whole other CEQA impact? So anyway, I'll stop there, and thank you for the extra time. Appreciate it.
We have one speaker on Zoom, John F. Let me see here.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. John Foster, a longtime Palo Alto resident and a great fan of Foothills Nature Preserve. Thank you to everyone for your work on this. I have only one comment, and that is on the removal of the parking near the entrance. I actually rarely park there myself, but I've parked there a few times. I've seen many people park there, and it is the only place to park if you want to start on the trail that starts from the entrance gate. And so I think I heard the reason for removing that parking was aesthetic. In other words, that it looks nicer if you drive in and don't see people park there. The road, to me, seems certainly wide enough to do so. So my recommendation, since there is no other place to park at the entrance other than the short-term 10-minute parking, that parking be retained. And that is my comment. Thanks, everyone.
We have no more additional speakers.
Thank you, and thank you, speakers, for your comments as well. Any additional comments from staff?
I would like to clarify that the 10-minute parking at the entrance has not been proposed for removal. Only along entrance road, there are some parallel gravel parking that are being proposed for removal because of safety concerns. And Mike, do you want to?
So I believe the speaker was addressing the parallel parking under the tree. That's not just aesthetic, but then also there's a slide, if Eric could pull it up, with some of the parking issues we've had on the weekends in traffic at that specific spot. During the weekdays, though, we talked about changing policy as far as the 10-minute zone is making it allowed parking during the week when staff's not using that area. When we are staffing the entrance station on weekends and holidays is when we need those 10-minute spots because we have a lot of traffic going in and out of that area. So that would give back, I think historically before the park opened, those used to be available for parking. And so kind of mitigating, at least during the weekdays, allowing people to go to that location.
Okay, I will open this up to commissioners. I'm going to start at the other end, please. Commissioner Axelrod.
So I'm excited to see that there is accessible parking that's being added, so thank you for that. And just help me understand, because I would guess that the most desirable location for them to go would be at lake level. So why do we decide to remove the parking at lake level and put it up at elevated?
So the additional parking that's further back is kind of more of a natural spot, at least parking the vehicles on the opposite side. The area that's along the lake level, that's parallel parking, as you can see in the slide, is we've had parking issues constant for about the last 4 or 5 years, especially on busy days in the evenings at the lake when it's popular, with vehicles encroaching out into the roadway, making that a narrow spot. So when you have cyclists and cars trying to pass both ways, it becomes kind of a very tight location. So being able to remove the vehicles from that equation that are parked gets us back to a little bit better clearance and better sight lines. And I also, as I mentioned, the aesthetic, it boosts the aesthetic, being able to see the lake versus looking at just a row of cars the whole way down. The other issue that we've had kind of constantly is actually we've had vehicle collisions with the rocks. When people are trying to park so close to the rocks, they end up going either into them or on them, and then that's pierced the vehicle oil tanks, and oil pans, I should say, and then cause leaks, and then staff has to clean that. So that's been one other problem, kind of a unintended consequence of parking using parking in that manner.
Got it. Thank you for the explanation. Yes, I would just encourage you, if possible, to check that you can easily get a wheelchair from the new spots down to the lake in the designated areas.
Yep. Commissioner Smith, any comments? Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Vice Chair.
Yeah, thanks again. I want to really recognize you for the efforts to balance the increased visitation since 2020 open to the public, and also challenges of access, safety, especially ecological protection. Having said that, I really do echo Commissioner Kleinhaus and also public comments about looking to the park's identity. And firstly, it's a nature preserve, and the second is parks. So it is not easy balance act to address the real immediate issues such as parking. But if we align parking with carrying capacity rather than just allow it to drive demand, since you never have to put a sign, it's full, no more visitors. So thinking through what you allow to happen, and also prioritize the configuration management of existing parking before adding new supply, because it is our nature preserve. It is nature need to be preserved, and then be also cautious in a sensitive area like Commissioner Wexler looking to accessibility for wheelchair and the appropriate ideal way of getting people to the accessible area where people have challenges, and the operational tools alongside of infrastructure, particularly during those peak demands, whether it's Easter, Christmas periods as well. So, but on the other hand, I do think you've done a great job, and I do echo the preserve first framework, and which shows in your plan as well. That's all my comments. Thank you.
Chair, is it, I do want, I think staff is also seeking some clarity this evening, because at the last October meeting, we didn't have that gravel parking lot, and there's been some discussion this evening about, is there too much parking or disturbing natural area? And so we did have that removed. That was presented in October, but the commission at that point added it back to the plan. Granted, in its original state, it was an asphalt paved, and so it was converted to be gravel, and that's what is kind of being discussed and before you this evening. But if there is, we want to make sure we're taking something with the PIO at this upcoming month. And if we're not going to get there, we're seeking your feedback this evening if we're seeing change here. So now's kind of the time to deliberate that and provide feedback if, we need to do that.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner.
Thank you. I saw the evolution of this plan from the start, and I think it's much better than it started. And I appreciate the amount of work that went into that. It's definitely improved. Having said that, I still have concerns, so I'll say a few of them. One is that, the initial visual of coming down into the lower part of the preserve would be that parking lot, and it was asphalt, and now it's gravel, so that's better, but it's still, when you look at that gravel parking lot with the extension of the trail on the other side, it becomes a really large area that is not very natural. And that parking lot is not the highest priority in terms of nature conservation, but it's a visual place, and there's a lot of birds that forage there. I always see sparrows and things in there. It's not, it's not critical to them, but it's a nice visual thing when you come into a nature preserve. So if possible, to remove parking, that would be a pretty good place not to touch all that much. So that is one comment. So if you're seeking feedback, it seems like, and in my experience, I don't usually go on weekends, but occasionally I do. I haven't seen the park at capacity, and I admit I don't go on the highest visitations days of the year, but there's not that many of them, and maybe we don't need to change the whole visual feel of the park for those few events. And so I would think if you didn't have that parking lot there, definitely gravel is better than asphalt, but none at all may be better than that. Or maybe only open it. I know we don't want to have people leak oil there, but maybe only open it, like keep it as is and let people park on top of it on high visitation days, because that's not very often, and that the rest of the time it's probably not going to be all that impacted. So that's a kind of a hybrid solution, like don't pave it, don't gravel it, but let people park there when you really have a need for that extra space. So that's about that one. In terms of the curbs and all that, I've talked about that before to staff, that the more you can use, tree trunks, logs, and rocks rather than asphalt, the better. And I think it's been reduced a lot, but still, if there is an opportunity. The issue of whether we need people to not walk on the road is a bit curious to me, given that on Ross Road, we have shared the road. And people walk on the road, they bike on the road, and they drive on the road. And in this nature preserve, we're like, oh, we have to separate everything. And I'm not sure that is the right attitude here. And I don't, so that basically says do a lot less, and I don't necessarily think others will agree with me, but if we can do it on Ross Road, why can't we do it in a nature preserve? I don't know if you want to answer or not. I'm just bringing a concern. And in terms of all those bumps and signs and crossroads, if there is so many of them, then we should find a way to make them less. It's not downtown. We need people to be able to cross, but safely. But I've walked on that road so many times, I never felt unsafe. And beauty of this park is really, really critical. It's a gem, and it's unlike any others. So once we're going to improve, and that improvement makes it a little less beautiful, I'm not sure that's what people really want. And I think that is a question. It's not for us. You have, but it's an important one. So what else do I have here? Yeah, people did actually ask me about that top parking lot and said they use it. And so I'm glad to hear that during the week you're considering opening it to the public for parking. I don't know if it can always be opened for at least some, because several people actually reached out to me about that one. So I don't know if that needs a change of design or anything. But I really do think that parking lot with the 16 to 18 nose-in gravel can be not added at all, and only on really high visitation days, put some kind of marker, park here too. Let me see if I have anything else, just to make sure. Yeah, it's just the concern with somebody also said, Karen Holman said that, I'm not sure you can build 3 to 4 feet along the road without either shrinking the road or building a retaining wall. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we did measure that on site, and there are just, the existing dirt shoulder is what we are planning on converting. In certain areas, we may have to reduce the pathway width to 3 feet, but we can mostly maintain 3 to 4 feet. And we will provide gap in between wherever there is a conflict with existing trees, since we are not removing any trees.
So the slope is steep, so if you have 3 to 4 feet, which take that little extra space there near the road, and this is now becomes an infrastructure, right? Because now you have a trail, it's not just a dirt path. How do you protect it from erosion without having to eventually put a retaining wall?
We have enough space for 3 to 4 feet. We will not have any retaining wall.
Okay, so forever, right? I mean, once you put something, you have to protect it, right? And concerns me. All right, I'll stop now and check if I have anything else.
Commissioner Dean.
Yeah, great to see some updates and progress on this reduced scope project with our PRC input. I just have a minor question on page 7 of the slides. So I see the gravel parking lot across Boronda Lake. The proposed picture on the right-hand side shows the gravel parking lot with a tiny bit pedestrian road. Are the materials used different, and how do you distinguish that?
So the material used for all of the pedestrian pathways is quarry fines, which is a mixture of fine sand, silt, and clay-like material, which is generated as a byproduct of quarry operation. And we do have this material installed in Arastradero Preserve, and we have seen staff has no concerns with that. It has better maintenance than, for example, DG pathway. So that's why staff selected this material.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to I want to echo what Commissioner Kranhaus just said, and also make more expansive point about what I just said. I hope our goal is getting more efficiency, clarity of what we already have in terms of parking, instead of adding new parking supply. So on the practical terms, looking to reconfiguration of existing spaces, restripping, formalizing spaces to eliminate ambiguity for visitors, especially visitors from other cities who never been there before, or converting informal insufficient layouts to clearly define the existing parking space and using turnaround, one-way circulation to improve the flow, or clear destination or signage for parking areas, make it obvious where parking is allowed, where it's not allowed, and use subtle but effective cues, stripping, wheel stops, borders, natural edges. And the circulation improvement itself could improve the parking already. So give the nature preserve its clear identity. It's a preserve. So people visiting that knowing it's a preserve, it's not a city pedestrian park. And especially improve the ingress, egress of the key nodes like Boronda Lake, and also demand management was the existing footprint, because we never have to put a signage to say it's full, you cannot come, right? Eliminate inefficient and problematic areas to remove parking configuration that create safety issues or ecological damage, and reclaim existing space where informal parking have expanded beyond intended limits. So that's it's not easy to achieve, but I think make do is what ecological conservation and cycle economy is all about, just ballpark thinking that way. if we add new parking, we should make sure we're fully optimizing what we currently have. That's all I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I think the whole point of what we're trying to do is continue with balancing safety improvements with the preservation of the natural character of the preserve. So there's been a lot of information that we discussed back in April and what we've discussed now. Is there anything specifically, I guess, that we as a commission can do before you come back to us in the next month or so?
Yeah, if the commission can provide clear direction or whether you would like a gravel parking lot across Boronda Lake, because the reason it was added back was per commission's direction in October, because we were removing some of the parallel gravel parking in Boronda Lake, and the discussion at that time was the commission did not want to lose parking in that area and recommended adding back that gravel parking lot. So if the direction or if commission's feedback is to remove that gravel parking area again.
Commissioner, but we haven't removed, I mean, parking is a necessity for that particular park, and we're trying to make sure that the areas where people are going to be parking, that there's still enough room for people to park, and at the same time not distract from the beauty of the park itself. So for what you guys brought to us a few months ago and what you're presenting to us now, I think this is pretty clear, but are there elements that we would prioritize, I guess, if to come in with something more than expected? Is there anything that you can get from us that, go ahead, Commissioner Kleinhaus.
It works, okay. So is it possible for staff to use that area where the gravel now for the asphalt, to remove the parking that this was intended to replace? And instead of building a parking lot there, gravel parking lot, using that as parking in times that you have a crunch time. And without building a parking lot, just using the grassy area there, it's not high vegetation, can that be used to alleviate the pressure of when more parking is needed than what is available?
I just wanted to, I'll let Mike further sort of nuance it, but one concern with that approach may be that it goes counter to the purpose of delineating the parking that we're doing in this plan, where we have a lot of kind of unofficial parallel parking that's causing the issues. Mm-hmm. So if we activate an unofficial grassland area for parking, we may run into kind of unorganized parking that may cause the same level of safety issues that we're experiencing now, because it would be hard to police and regulate. But I would defer to Mike to maybe to.
Yeah, exactly that. And then just I'll give you the park visitor view of that in my 15 years of experience is they're going to go, well, I parked there on Easter. Why can't I park there now when it's raining? Because our visitors are not always regular visitors. And so if they come every 6 months, 8 months, things might be different. So they don't understand that was just a one-off thing. And encouraging them to park on vegetation in one area ends up taking away or confuses the average visitor as far as, well, I can park on vegetation over here, but if I go a half mile down the road within the same park, then I can't park on vegetation over there. And it creates that discrepancy. The other part of it is, just in my experience at Foothills, and we've had this problem with the lower turf, area in front of the interpretive center all the way over to Orchard Glen. There's been days where I've come into work at 11 o'clock in the morning and there's a minivan in the middle of Orchard Glen because they found the one gap that they could sneak by the rocks and parked right there. And they're like, well, I do this down at Mitchell Park, or I do this at another place. And it's like, well, we don't do that here. This is a nature preserve. We don't want people just driving around off-road in all these different places for your safety and everybody else's and the protection of the preserve itself.
So going back to visitation, the park has not had capacity for 5.5 years. And so, and I do support removing the parking along the lake. I'm not, on the dirt along lake. I think that's not a good place to park, but do we need to provide more parking given the visitation is not as high as it was right after COVID and, when the parks opened and so many people wanted to visit, but it seems like it's not as busy now.
I understand that viewpoint that it's not as busy now, but our limit is also based at basically the discretion of the commission and council. So like we have a 600-person cap right now, and then everything's based off of that using mathematical formulas from visitation that's been built over the last 20, 30 years. There's nothing stopping in a year and a half when we have elections that a new council comes in and says, hey, we want to have more visitors at Foothills. I think the municipal code allows up to 1,000 visitors per day. And so that's at the discretion of, I think, both the PRC and council to change that number. And just also speaking to my experience in parks for the last 15 years, COVID was an overnight, I went to a conference, a work conference in March, early March of 2020, and COVID was this thing that was way overseas and wasn't going to happen. I came back after that conference and we went right into shutdown, and then park usage exploded. My former agency, we saw almost 200% visitation change. Trails that would see 100 people in a day went up to almost 300 people a day based on our counters. So not saying that was Palo Alto's situation, because I wasn't here during that time, but we live in a time now where things are very dynamic and can change overnight with the spread of information, spread of things like COVID, which could dramatically change how the park and the facility is used. So having a little bit of contingency built in is never a bad thing, in my opinion. We just have to be mindful about how we do it.
Okay. I just want to make sure that we have provided enough information where this can, I guess, this be scoped and direct the staff to return with the park improvement ordinance. Do you think we have enough information?
I believe we're still a little fuzzy about the gravel parking lot. We've heard from two commissioners very clearly that it sounds like they would like that removed. However, that's not the majority. So we would like to get a better sense before you this evening, is this scope still what the commission is recommending moving forward? Because we will then bring that back and it will be written into the park improvement ordinance. So if there are different views, if you'd like to keep what you recommended in October, which is what we brought forth back to you this evening with a gravel parking lot, or would you like that removed?
I mean, that's what we had discussed at our October meeting, and you're just asking us, do we want to keep that in? I don't recall, but it was a pretty lengthy discussion, so I'm not sure why it becomes kind of a big issue at this point. I mean, it's not something we want to vote on, but I think we need to get a consensus that the rest of the commission is okay with keeping that in. It's something that we had discussed at our last, in the October meeting. Commissioner Brown. Smith, I'm sorry.
I'm in favor of keeping the gravel parking lot. The other thing I would be careful of is staff time, when you can park one time here and then another time. I would not be happy to be the one that has to get that done. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown?
I would be in favor of also keeping the gravel parking lot. I think you need to plan for high-traffic days. You have your water meter size, the right size, so that it can deliver you water during your peak usage, and you want to be able to accommodate that. And if you can't accommodate that, people are going to park where they're not supposed to park, and that will cause more damage to habitat and more work for the rangers. And so I think it's important to leave the gravel parking lot in this plan.
Anyone else? Commissioner Ding?
Yeah, I agree that we keep the gravel parking lot because we're taking away some of the parallel parkings. I think it makes sense to add some, yeah.
And the only thing I'm going to add, I mean, I also agree with that. And the comment that people are going to park where they want to park. And it sounds like for the last few years, that's been an issue that the Rangers and others have been observing, and this is something that you're coming back and you feel pretty comfortable that this is going to be something that's going to address the situation. You can always come back to us at some point in time after there's been enough time to evaluate it as to whether or not it's working or not working. So I definitely support it as well.
And
Commissioner Alsarat?
And maybe in the spirit of wait and see also, just to consider if you think that there is sufficient parking without doing the extra work, and if there's not great economies of scale, it might be easier to stage it out to do the parking work that you know needs to be done, and then see, okay, it looks like we're hitting peak, let's do another one.
Okay, let's move on. Oh, so I just want to make sure that we're clear on.
Yes, we did
Okay,
receive the
good.
feedback
All right.
we were looking for.
All right, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you again for the presentation.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the next agenda item.
All right, good evening. Adam Howard, Senior Community Services Manager with the City of Palo Alto, here tonight to have a discussion around the middle school athletics program and possible future models and program direction. Next slide, please. So we're here tonight to just receive an update on the middle school athletics program and to receive feedback on preferred management models moving forward. Next slide, please. Just to provide a quick background on the middle school athletics program, in 1997, the City of Palo Alto and the Palo Alto Unified School District began a partnership in running the middle school athletics program. Previous to this, it was run by the school district. In 2009 or 2010, the city took on full responsibility for the program, and we began running it solely without the school district, except for the space. We still use school district space at each of the sites. On October 7th, 2024, the City Council asked Palo Alto Parks and Rec Commission to review the middle school athletics program. We started that progress on July 22nd when staff came and provided a first update to the Parks and Rec Commission, and now we are here today to further those discussions. So as a reminder, this is what the City Council provided in their request, was to provide approaches to align the program with universal student access for students and applicable state laws, as well as to explore feasibility of outsourcing program operations to local nonprofit organizations. going to give you a little information about what the program currently looks like. So the current program is run by the city's Recreation Division. It operates at each of the 3 public middle schools, so Green, Fletcher, and JLS. We offer each sport at a fee of $335. And we do offer a fee reduction program of up to 50% off of that registration fee. We average around 1,200 registrations a year and typically have around 70 people on the wait list at the end of the year. We offer our program by season. So we have fall sports, winter sports, and spring sports. And our staffing model for the program, we have a full-time recreation coordinator, and as part of their responsibilities, they oversee the middle school athletics program. The coordinator takes care of hiring, registrations, equipment purchasing, contract creation and management, time card management, sports league scheduling, communications, among other things. And then each of the sites has an hourly athletic director. They oversee the day-to-day operations of each site, monitor the gym and field usage, provide coaching support, help with practice logistics, communications, and anything that might pop up day of. And then we have, anywhere from 10 to 15 seasonal coaches at each of the sites that obviously do the coaching for the program. We, again, get around 1,200 registrations each year. The registration fee is $335 per sport, and those registration fees go towards staffing, both hourly and full-time, league fees, referees, uniforms, and equipment. Staffing costs really represent about 80% of the expenses of this program. And again, we do offer a single registration fee across all sports to help create equal access for all. As we evaluate the MSA program, we kind of look at the following criteria. 1, compliance with state law, participation expenses, program accessibility, and program capacity. When we look at compliance with state law, this is really around the idea that, if extracurricular activities are offered by the school district, they have to be offered for free of cost. A city-run program is allowed to assess fees for its programming. That would include if we were to contract with a third party, they too could assess fees for the programming. Program accessibility, we looked at this kind of in 2 areas. One is fees and one is capacity. So the first we look at is fees. With current fees, the program still is in high demand, but we understand that it could be a barrier for some families. So for the school year that's coming to an end here, the 25-26 school year, we had 73 registrations utilize that fee reduction program. We don't currently have a mechanism for families that can't participate due to fees, meaning they know that they still can't afford it with the 50% fee reduction program, so they don't come. So we don't have right now a mechanism to kind of know how many families that are, but I'll touch on that again a little bit later. The other thing with accessibility is just capacity. We often meet our capacity limits with a lot of our sports. We do everything we can to reduce or eliminate wait lists wherever possible, but we do have some issues that affect capacity. One is coaching availability. In some of the sports, it's team size. You can't have a team with too many players. You can't have a team with not enough players. Both of those can really impact one's ability to enjoy their experience. And the other thing that isn't necessarily an issue now, but sometimes facility space can be an issue. We only have 1 gym at each site. So if we get really big, we do end up running into room issues. Part of this is we also kind of updated our registration process. We had a very first come, first serve process. Registration would be on a certain time and a certain day, and we would fill really quickly. So if a parent wasn't available at that time, and it even started to come down to internet speed, so we didn't really like that. So we've adjusted the registration restrictions where there's an open registration period, where kids have 3, 4, 5 weeks to register. And then we randomly select students to participate in the program. So that makes the program, the registration process more fair, but doesn't necessarily reduce the possibility of a wait list. And we understand that really the wait list is where people are uncomfortable with, because that means they might not get to participate. Next slide. So at the July 22nd Parks and Rec Commission meeting, we started looking at possible future models. We've talked about tiered fee structures, nonprofit partnerships, partial program management to outsourcing to nonprofits, or full program management outsourcing. And at that meeting, we really kind of focused in on, we want our solutions to either make sure there's no increase in registration to cost to participants, there's no increase in city subsidy for the program, or our solutions increase program capacity. So the ad hoc went and we met and we really looked at it through that lens, right? We want to make sure we're not increasing costs or increasing city subsidy, or we're increasing capacity. So that was really the lens we began to look at each of these possible models. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk about each kind of these different models. One is a tiered fee structure. What this basically would do is we would instead of just having a flat rate, we would look at the operating costs of each of the programs and adjust the fees based on that. So that would lower the cost of some sports, but ultimately increase the cost to others, since a lot of our expenses would remain the same. So given that's kind of unavoidable, we are really recommending that we remove the tiered fee structure to focus on other areas of improvement. Next slide, please. The next thing we looked at is partnership with nonprofits. This particular area is the idea that the city continues to run the program, but we partner with a nonprofit nonprofit organization to help fundraise to either decrease costs or increase financial assistance available. Staff has already begun working on this. So through our partnership with the Palo Alto Rec Foundation, we secured $10,000 for the next upcoming school year. That would allow up to 60 students to get a full scholarship for the program. So those students would get the 50% reduction from the city's available financial aid, which there's no cap. We can allow as many students that accept that. And then 60 of those could also get a full scholarship with the partnership of the Rec Foundation. We understand 60 is not a huge number, but it's a start. And it would also allow us to start collecting data on how many families need that additional financial support. So, I mean, if we got 120 requests, at least we'd have a better understanding of what those barriers are and for how many families. So our recommendation is to continue to strengthen that partnership and even look for new partnerships to see if there's additional resources available that could further help with either cost decreases or increased financial assistance. Next slide, please. We then looked at program management. We first looked at partial program management. So the idea here is that we would contract out individual sports to individual organizations. The idea there is those organizations would have very sport-specific expertise. They'd be looking for coaches for very specific sports in hopes that you could then find more. And because of the management of those organizations, they would be able to provide decreased registration fees, so lower rates to register. The issue with this idea is that removing individual sports while leaving other sports with the city would actually increase the sports that remain. So yes, there would be savings in some of the coaching costs, depending on sport, referee contracts, minor equipment savings. We would still have the full-time staff and the hourly athletic directors that we would need to cover those costs. So as an example, if we just removed girls volleyball and another organization operated that, we would then have to increase the registration for the remaining sports by $20, so it'd go up to $355. Or you could increase the city subsidy, meaning what the city has to cover, by $22,000. Next slide, please. With each sport that you will remove, that cost actually goes up. So if you remove volleyball and flag football, then your registration costs have to go up by $46, or you subsidize the program by $51,000. So the only way that really could work is if you removed all the sports to individual organizations. However, then you have 7 to 8 contracts that have to be managed. And you have staff on site that need to help manage these 8 different groups share space. You also then have the concern of, quality and equality between the sports, right? How do we make sure that 8 different organizations are providing a very similar experience for all the students? So between the concerns of like the raised cost of the sports that would have to remain with the city, or if you were able to do them all, the kind of issue between equity between the sports, we're recommending removing this option as well. Next slide, please. The next idea is full program management. So the idea here is that you would contact the entire program to a single organization. They would have general sports and hiring expertise. Again, through the business models, they would be able to decrease registration fees and or increase their capacities. We don't have a specific group in mind that would be able to do this. And there's an issue where if you do contract out the program, the city then loses a lot of their flexibility in creating, in the program being adaptable, flexible, in driving the program to increase, because the organization would be contracts with the city, but that's kind of where they would remain, right? Is that contract is what they would have to follow. Given that, staff thinks it's important that we still perform what's called a request for proposal, right? This is a formal request to organizations to provide their input on full program management. And that's the only way to really ensure that this idea is fully vetted. This would allow the groups that have previously kind of provided information to adjust and provide their proposal for full contract management. And it would allow, maybe there's other groups out there that we don't know. So this is just, in staff's opinion, the best way to just ensure that we have a full picture. Next slide, please. So just in terms of next steps, what are we asking? So the staff and the ad hoc are kind of recommending that the city continue operations for the 26-27 year with a focus on coaching hiring, limiting wait lists, continue to strengthen our partnership with nonprofits to increase financial assistance while also collecting data of families in need so we have a better understanding of those financial needs of the families. And then while doing that, also performing our RFP, request for proposals. That way, if we get proposals for full program management that are qualified to do so, we can then weigh that against the city operations, right? That feels like the only way that we can do it with a full and complete picture. If there's not any of those groups available, then we just continue to push ahead. But if there are, we want to make sure we can then really look at the two and have that discussion again with the full details available through an RFP. That is my presentation tonight, and I return it to you.
Okay, as always, good job. Before we go to public comments, I do want to start by saying I appreciate the work that the staff and you, Adam, and the ad hoc have put into this effort. I think the ad hoc is Commissioner Brown and Commissioner Deng. Okay, cool. So this is a pretty complex program with a lot of moving parts and one that's been on our agenda for a while. So I do see this item as an item that we'll be voting on, is that correct?
Yeah, it's really providing direction on our next steps.
Okay, so let me start by asking, does the ad hoc have anything that you'd like to add before we jump to clarifying questions?
Just that this was a request from council, gosh, on our last work plan and so just appreciate the work that staff has done to really, I think, correct some of the misconceptions when that was originally tasked to the commission of, is the city out of compliance, I think was one of the questions. And so really tracking down the answers and also evaluating all possible alternatives and not leaving any stone unturned. So I just appreciate staff's work on this. Commissioner Deng?
Okay. Okay, let's move. Any commissioners have any clarifying questions that you would like to ask the staff? Vice Chair?
Great report. Just quick question. This is not in the Enjoy catalog, the middle school sports, right? It's not listed. for the Enjoy catalog?
We do list it in the fall catalog because that's the one that goes out with all the registration dates. We don't do it each catalog.
Semester, okay. And what's the situation? I remember the Palo Alto School District tried to separate with us in terms courts and stuff. Is there discussion on that, or the partnership still remaining okay?
So I think, if I'm understanding your question, that was specifically about tennis court maintenance. So that has continued forward. The school now operates their tennis courts and fields.
But it's not impacting this?
It's not impacting this. It's completely separate, and that
Wonderful.
is moving forward.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thank you for the great work. It looks really good and clear.
Commissioner Alceroy.
Yep, great report, thank you. Just curious, across the gamut of sports, is the total participation time per sport about equal across all of them?
Yeah, roughly the same time frame.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Smith.
Who is the Palo Alto Recreation Foundation?
That is a nonprofit organization whose sole mission is to support the recreation division. They're a nonprofit organization of volunteers who help support the rec department. A lot of our special events, they provide funding to us so that we can continue them or expand them.
And I could be late in the evening not doing my math right, but they gave us $10,000. And that did 60 scholarships?
I think it's 59 and a partial, but we would do 60 because it covers half of the. So the idea is that the city's financial support system would provide 50% off. So it's 167.50, I think.
And then they would do the rest.
Correct. So
okay.
Yeah.
And that would be helpful if we could find other funds like that. And.
Absolutely.
I had forgotten about the Palo Alto Recreation Foundation, and do you think there's other funds that might be available?
I think there probably are, and I also think as the foundation, you said you forgot about the foundation. I think they're kind of starting to come to the surface again, and that they're running Thursday night events at Cal Ave, so they're really trying to bring themselves back to the forefront, and I think that will help in terms of being able to gather donations and fundraise.
I recently got a call from somebody who was looking for a donation, and this person says, is our old friend Leonard Ely, who some of you may remember. He would say, Roger, I want to pick your pocket. Now that's a nice way to ask for a donation, right? So I think there could be some additional money, and but I like what you're deciding to do, and again, I'm going to editorialize. It is so important for the kids to get off their devices and have something else. The other thing that sports does, in my experience, it teaches you how to compete. You're now dealing with somebody beside your parents telling you what to do. And so I think it's just a wonderful thing. And I would hope we can maybe find more money to you to do what you're doing. So thank you.
Okay, tagging on to Commissioner Smith's comment about the money, I guess the scholarship. You mentioned that what ways are you using to let people know that is available? Because you mentioned also that there were people who knew that they had a need but did not go out, take advantage of the program. Is that an advertisement thing? Is that something that is not reflected on the application? How else would you capture that information?
So I think two parts. I think that will be kind of something that we advertise separately, like as its whole thing, because it will be new, right? That's available to them. So really bringing that advertisement to the forefront, as well as the city's financial aid program, and what I specifically was talking about in terms of like the parents that I think there's a gap in terms of information for us, for the families that know that even at 50% off, they're not going to participate. Those are the families we don't know about. So this will allow, because now there's going to be an option for 100%, at the very least, they're going to then reach out. And maybe we get 120 applications for the full application. We can only give 60, but at least we know now that there's 120 families that need the full financial support. So there's two parts to this. One, we're going to communicate this as its own standalone thing because it's going to be new, so we're going to really advertise it a lot, and that will allow us to kind of capture some of the families that maybe had never reached out to us before.
Okay, but do you also have the same families that maybe reached out in a previous year, but do not elect to come back the next year because they don't quite have the money, I guess, for that program?
Yeah, so really, I can think, I've been doing this for a long time. There's really only been a handful of times where someone's reached out and said, we can't, even at 50% off, we can't afford it. Now, I understand though that that's just because they've reached out to communicate, but I'm sure there's others that are out there that are just saying, it's not available, I'm not gonna reach out. But obviously, anyone that's already participated will get that information, and then we'll push it out as much as we can through just all of our channels, through the PAUSD and our own email communications.
Okay. One other question. You mentioned that you have 1,200 registrations and 60 waitlisted. And I didn't get from the report, is that a number that's trending up, or is it pretty stable from year to year?
It's right around that number. We don't typically see big increases or big dips in that. We try to get it as small as possible. And we do, and like I said, when it comes to universal access, when I say 70, it's because if the person was invited to participate in another sport, but turn that down, we don't count that as someone that's on the way. So it's really truly 70 people that had nowhere else to go. So that's how we count that.
Oh, that's how you count the wait list?
Yeah.
Okay, and so the other question is that which sports are driving that wait list? There are some that are more, I guess, popular than others, right?
Well, and it's not so much popular, it's girls volleyball and it's basketball, which not only do we have to have the right amount of coaches, that's where team sizes come in, right? You can't get too big because there's only so many people on the court. And then you also have space concerns. And basketball is a winter sport, so we don't have other options either, right? Because we don't put things outside because then you're going to have weather delays. I would say basketball is our biggest one because it's either basketball or we don't have any other options currently.
Okay. And then can you briefly restate why partial and full outsourcing were not recommended?
So I am recommending that we continue to investigate full.
Okay.
I'm not recommending partial because if you only take one or two sports out, the remaining sports have to increase in cost to cover all the fees. The only way you can avoid that is if you were able to individually contract out all the sports. But even if you were able to do that, then it's like, well, are all the sports getting equal attention from 8 different organizations, and how do you manage all those contracts? So I think individual contracting out is more harm than good. The full one, the potential's there. Whether we can find the right group, I'm not sure, but the potential is there, so I think we need to investigate that one fully.
Okay, so that goes back to the RFP that you had sent out, but you did not get a lot of feedback on that. How do you think that's going to change? Are you changing the RFP? Are you reaching out to other communities to find out kind of what worked for them? Do you think the RFP wasn't designed to pull in the people that you needed to have respond to that?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So the first is there's just a little bit of a difference. So the first one that we did was an RFI, which is request for information, and it's a lot more informal. And we specifically were pretty vague. We basically just said, what are your suggestions? So we got both individual contracting out and full contracting management. Also, with an RFI, there's not necessarily, you couldn't go from an RFI to taking on the program. So you could have organizations out there that didn't want to provide information or didn't want to take the time to do it, whereas a request for proposals, more formal, it will be very specific depending on tonight's discussion, very specific to full contract management. So we're truly spelling out exactly what we would be looking for. And you could go from a request for proposal to actually taking ownership of the program. So if you're out there and you're interested, you would fill out an RFP. So our results may not be different, but I feel like we need to know that for sure.
Okay. So then one last question is, if we expect to stay in-house, are we comfortable using the RFP to fully test the market?
Yeah, I think that's the best solution to make sure.
Okay.
And because we can still weigh that and say we're still comfortable with keeping it in-house.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Smith.
It probably was in a report that I might have missed. What time are these activities?
We try to start after school, but within an hour of school getting out. And then we practice is typically an hour. It's Monday through Friday. And then the game schedule fluctuates, but some games go as late as 7, but we try to not do that as much as possible.
So this, in a sense, is help with childcare because they're active. Would that be fair to say?
I mean, for some, but I think, I see it more as just the importance of sports, especially at middle school level. This is probably one of the last opportunities where you can participate in a team sport and skills not the main driver. Really, once you get into that high school level, that becomes a lot more prominent. So I really see it as just a really important time for middle school executives to try something new. Even if they've never done it before, skills not the driver of our program. So it really gives kids opportunity to try a team sport, maybe for the last time.
And I think that's so important because there is a community where the kids are specializing in volleyball or whatever, and there's some people just don't have the time and money to do that type of thing. So this is a great way to introduce people to the sports. So I really admire what you're doing.
Commissioner Deng.
Yeah, thanks, Adam, for a great report. I just want to add one more comment about the program promotion. I understand we use the PAUSD and our own email channels. Do we ever do some like on-site promotion, or do we do a introductory session during the middle school visit? Something like that, because I think parents plan their kids' after-school programs way ahead of time. Like when my son was in 5th grade, I didn't even know there's a middle school athletic program coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I mean, I think it's easier for us to do the 7th and 8th graders. We are working now on trying to get the elementary schools to send it out so that the 6th graders incoming know a little bit better. I mean, obviously 6th graders are the hardest to get to early. So we are working with elementary schools to see if they can send out the middle school athletic stuff at least at the end of the year.
Yeah, for other 5th graders.
For the incoming 6th graders.
Exactly, so they can plan ahead of time. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions from commissioners, we will go to public comments.
Okay, we do have 2 speakers. Our first speaker is here. It is Tom H.
Hi, good evening, commissioners and staff. Thanks for hearing public comments. I came here prepared to argue for the RFP. I'm happy to hear that there were some adjustments since the staff report was written, and to hear in the oral presentation a clear recommendation for a next step of having an RFP. I think that's the right choice. So happy to hear that. So I'll go a little bit off script while I'm here. So for context, my name is Tom Haxton. I founded the Palo Alto Middle School Community Athletics Organization, PAMSICO. That's the 501c nonprofit whose advocacy led to the city council vote a year and a half ago to start this evaluation. So I really appreciate the time that the commission and the ad hoc committee and staff has spent on this evaluation. One thing I want to highlight that I think is easy to not realize is that the motivation for evaluating partnering with nonprofits was to increase the level of service for middle school sports. So it's great that we have this program, but it's, as I started off as a volunteer coach for cross country and track and field at JLS Middle School, and I found that it's really left up to the coaches on how good of an experience that the students have. Sometimes you happen to have good parent volunteer coaches or non-parent volunteer coaches or paid coaches that do a great job, but they're paid, I think it was $19 an hour, now it's 23, is basically minimum wage for like hour-and-a-half gigs. So the compensation isn't the reason that they're there. They're there maybe because they love coaching. Some of them are there because they're trying to promote their private sports programs after the season. And it's really varied. We sometimes have excellent coaches. Other times we had cases like at Green Middle School, the parent volunteer coach who was told that he'd be one of a team of 4 or 5 coaches. He'd be an assistant. Showed up to the first day of practice. There was, I think, over 50 students. He was the only coach. There was a case, I think, 1 or 2 years ago in the JLS basketball team where the coach left mid-season with less than a day's notice. And the only reason the team could continue is that one of the parents with no basketball experience took over and led the team. So it's really hit or miss depending on the coaches. And I think the biggest thing we can do to improve the program is to support the coaches more, pay a bit more so that it's actually a reasonable compensation for their time in the Bay Area. And we've shown that we can do that. So the middle school athletics program, again, it's great that it exists, but the majority of the registration fees are going to administrative overhead. They're going to people that aren't there day to day helping the teams. They're sitting at a desk or sitting in a supply closet, to be honest. So it works out. The administrative overhead last year is $261,000. That works out at $218 per registrant.
Your time has expired.
Thank you. So briefly, we've shown that we can do better, and we're looking forward to submitting our application for RFP. I encourage you to put that out there as soon as possible. Thank you.
Our next speaker is via Zoom, DC.
Hi, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. My name is DC Jasundara, parent of a 7th grader at JLS. First of all, thanks for your service and time. Quickly introducing myself. We've been in the PAUC system for the last 8 years. We have an elementary school kid as well. Both myself and my wife did a lot of sports growing up through college, and middle school was a crucial time for us to kind of learn a new sport and so on. So let me kind of quickly go over a couple of things. Number one, we are grateful for all the PACT and the ecosystem we are in, right? All the nonprofits like Children's Theater, Friends of the Library, PI, PAC. We are fans, beneficiaries, donors to these systems, right? We thrive here. However, our experience with middle school sports over 1.5 years has been poor, drastically poor, right? It was not one sport. We started with Frisbee, then we moved on to flag football, and now doing track and field. It's a big contrast. Compare with, I coach middle schoolers at East Palo Alto, nonprofit called Razorhawks for rugby. This is done very differently, right? Similarly, we took part in a cross-country run by PEMSCO, which Tom represented. Our experience was drastically different, right? And let me now tell why this is the case. So it's either poorly executed because there's no organization in sports, there's no consistency, or overall program delivery is poor, right? They sometimes lack able coaches, committed coaches, or there are too many participants loaded that the coaches can't manage, deliver anything important. This is through Frisbee, flag football, and track and field, right? In track and field, we have a coach who's able, but then again, simply the load of students is not making it any effective for any of the athletes who are taking part. And in the case of flag football, there were some very unacceptable incidents that happened. Like things like, friends bringing in other friends to play, and coach couldn't stop that, unregistered players. The attire they used participating in games and so on. and our complaints to the city was not responded to date, right? And I've attached that in a written comment I sent early on. Right? Whereas again, as a coach of middle school kids in rugby, right, things are very different. So we are we have a 7th grader who's going to 8th grade next year, and we really hope that we could issue an RFP and look at the option of bringing another organization to run this. And I'm positive if we can do that. I'm looking forward to having at least when my middle school reaches 8th grade, the next academic year, to have a far better experience in middle school sports, right? It's not just learning a new thing, they are kind of in transition. So really looking forward to something different.
Thank you. All right. There are no more speakers at this time.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, speakers, for your comments. They're well accepted. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to the commissioners. We'll start with Commissioner Dunn. Have nothing? Okay. Vice Chair?
I don't have much suggestion, but I think you're doing great work. Hope you can get more funding even from corporations in Palo Alto. We have, Wells Fargo and volunteers from the car company, Rivian, etc. Maybe there's something even Commissioner Smith can help bring them here too. Thank you for the great work, Adam.
Commissioner Brown.
I have a question for Adam. For the staff that does the administration of the middle school athletics program, are they 100% dedicated to middle school athletics, or do they perform other functions for the department?
So other functions as well, adult sports and summer camp contracts, and then we all involved in special events.
Okay, so if you were to contract out, there would still be a need for many of those positions to perform other duties, so it wouldn't be removing that entire administrative overhead if you were to contract the entire program out.
Try that again, sorry. Are you saying, would there be other tasks that the person would do if MSA disappeared? Or
I'm saying, yeah, if MSA disappeared, it wouldn't be automatically eliminating all of those administrative positions because they do perform other functions for the department.
Yeah, there would be a discussion around that full-time person as to whether we could keep him or not.
Okay, I think that's just an important point of clarification, that it's not an automatic cost savings, that those employees or those positions would be entirely eliminated because they're not 100% dedicated to middle school athletics. And so if they were eliminated, that would mean some service impacts to the department. And if they were not eliminated, then you're not having the full realization of the cost savings that might be expected from contracting out entirely.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And going back to the initial statements is, I think when we were looking at this, it was looking at middle school athletics, not only to address the service and improve the quality of the customer experience, but also being able to be equitable in terms of access and address changing needs. And I think that having the in-house delivery and the research that we've done said the in-house delivery service model offers the most flexibility in terms of being responsive to new sports that they want to try, flag football and pickleball and all of those ideas that come up. Not that that couldn't be baked into a contract in some way, but it's just a little bit harder to be responsive to those. I think since we started this conversation, we're in a very different budget environment than we were initially. And so while some of those considerations of, well, we'll just increase the subsidy and we can offset the cost to other parts of the program, those conversations became less realistic the further we got into the reality of the current budget conditions. So I think it's good that I appreciate all the recommendations, and I would be in support of moving forward with the plan as you presented. I think that just because you're unhappy with a portion of the service, it doesn't necessarily justify completely changing the entire service delivery model. That said, it seems like a very low cost and low effort fully vet that option. So I'm supportive of doing that, and I think that that will at least get us the answers that we want moving forward.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith, additional comments?
Well, I think it's great work, and again, just to repeat that it's so important, and no, I'd be happy to visit with you and get to know the recreation department. I'm sure I know a number of the people there, and so I'd like to be helpful there. Thanks.
Commissioner Alcatraz.
Yep. Thank you for the report, Adam. I guess I'd just like to advocate for reconsidering bringing back partial program management, but across all the sports, because I think what that would enable you to do is find vendors that are best of breed and have a mission and passion about each individual sport, that rather than looking for an umbrella organization to try to manage it, to do that. I'm familiar with some sports, and I'm sure there's great potential volunteers and organizations that'll run it, but I think it's going to be hard to find somebody that loves baseball to also offer a great volleyball and ultimate frisbee league. So I think if you're going to be putting together an RFP, potential RFPs per sport or group of sports, instead of having to take the whole package, I think that'll free you up to get more candidates, more organizations that would be really core in each one. And I hear what you're saying about trying to accomplish parity, but I think that's really tough to accomplish, because even as public comment said, the quality of the coaches, the quality of the sport, you get the best that you can for each sport, and you may just have somebody that is amazing in track and field or amazing in volleyball, but not the rest.
Okay. I know the city, well, first of all, I think we're trying to grow the program, right, eventually, and refine it. And you mentioned that some of the biggest constraints are facilities, staffing, funding. So what processes have we tried in order to address the constraints, such as advertising, raising awareness, et cetera?
Yeah, I think especially with coaching, I think it's just that every time there's a new website, Indeed, we send it through those channels to try to increase the number of coaches that are available to the pool. And there are difficulties in finding the people that are available, from 3 to 6 Monday through Friday. It's not a large chunk of time, and it's not a large chunk of pay. So there are just a limited number of people that are even available during that time. But we continue to reach out, and I think we continue to use the coaches that we currently have to try to promote to other people. I think it's actually getting a little bit better recently, the last year or so. It's been a little bit better. And the economy plays a role. It depends on how many people are out there really looking for work. We've had to make some adjustments as the high school schedule, those high school students get out a little bit later. So we've adjusted to try to, because older high school students were a good pull for us. And so now they get out a little bit later. So we've tried to adjust the schedule a little bit to allow them still to coach, because that's a good pull for us. So it's really about just as much communication as we can, and being flexible in terms of how we schedule based on coaches' availability.
Many years ago, when my kids were small and involved in a lot of sports, I know the city had programs for coaching workshops and referees. Do those programs still exist? Because that's a good way, I know, at that time to pull people in to the pool, whether it be referees or coaches of different sports. So that I don't know if we're doing anything like that, but that might be a good way to interest people who might not know that, there's free time in the evening, how else can I benefit?
Yeah, so we're looking at trying to find maybe a certification program that we could offer to coaches that would then turn around and say, well, we also have this program where you could coach. That's something we haven't done yet, but it is something that we're looking to try to accomplish. So it's something you could sign up for through the Enjoy catalog for coaches' trainings, and then we would try to bring them into the program.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Okay. I wonder if you, sorry.
Okay. Okay, go ahead.
saying about the coach pipeline, and I think that's a great idea to look into the coach pipeline for high schoolers. Is there any resources we can leverage from Stanford students or sports department, just hypothetically?
So we advertise our coaches, our need for coaches through Stanford Athletics as well, as well as our other junior colleges that are in the area. Anything we can do to promote to people that might be available, as far as, you know, Menlo College and Menlo Park. So we do go to the colleges to try to find the athletics through them.
Great idea. UC Santa Clara, somebody in the public raised their hand, I think, I don't know.
Wait a minute, we can't. No. Okay, are there any other commissioners with any questions? Okay.
Just one on the pay of the coaches. Are we competitive to our neighboring towns?
Well, we're competitive to neighboring cities.
That's what I mean,
yeah, I don't think we're competitive to like private clubs, just because they're able to pay more. But in terms of city pay, yes.
And what was that again? I didn't write it down. About.
One sec, I did write this down. Where did I write it down? I mean, the rec ones get around $23 an hour. Oh yeah, so rec ones is around $23 an hour, rec two is $25 an hour. There's obviously a range there, but like the rec ones, the lowest income you can make is $20.91 an hour, and then it goes up from there.
Good, okay. Thank you.
Okay, so do we go ahead and make a motion? Do we write a motion for this, or? Okay. Does anyone on the ad hoc want to present a motion, or I can do it as well?
I would move to accept the staff recommendations, just calling out that it was a RFP for contracting out the full program.
And I would add to that to return to the commission with a comparative analysis between the final decision that is made. Okay. You get a second?
I second.
Okay. Okay, put it up for vote. Are there any other comments on the, okay. All right, Commissioner Alsterot.
Sorry if it's wrong procedure, but I also see if we can amend to also consider partial in addition to the full.
I wouldn't accept that. I mean, if you want to do a substitute motion, that could be a separate vote.
I get a second on that, the substitute motion?
I would second it.
Okay. All right. City Clerk.
Yeah, so for the first motion for the acceptance as.
Could you? Yeah, do the substitute
Okay,
motion.
so for the substitute motion.
Can you put it up on the screen?
Give me a second here. Seem to be having technical difficulties here. Give me 1 second. Looks like my Word document froze, so it'll be a little bit longer. Sorry about that.
I can just repeat it verbally if it's helpful.
so. Okay, so for the substitute motion, you wanted to, was it for the, so accept everything as is, but you also wanted to make sure that there was the partial program as well as the full program was under consideration?
That's right, and the partial program management.
Correct, okay. And then, so for roll call or for vote, Commissioner Axelrod?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
No.
Chair Freeman?
So, yes, yes.
Vice Chair Wei?
Yes.
Commissioner Deng?
No.
Okay.
And just for clarity, that was the substitute
That was the substitute
motion, not what's on the screen.
Correct.
Okay, because I think that could be confusing.
Gotcha. So,
yeah, the substitute motion is to, which,
Is for a partial, so it's not staff's recommendation, but this is rather, let's see, the last bullet, provide a request for proposal, but I think you would then add for partial management rather than full.
Additional to.
okay, so staff is recommending that we not do that, right?
That's correct. The
Okay.
staff recommendation is to further investigate full program management.
Okay, I'll rescind my vote on that one. So I'm a no on that one.
Partial management, meaning one spot, like two spots, not the whole thing.
Right, that would be the idea of trying to, different organizations would run different sports.
Isn't that more realistically happening? Most management, they don't manage all the sports, right?
Well, we currently run all the sports. So this would be different organizations running the different sports. But any sport not managed, not contracted out would have to be elevated in price to stay with the city.
Right. And there's no control of what that price would be.
It would go up.
It would go up,
If, you know, with each sport that goes out, the sports that remain would go up in cost.
I think we need to get back, deliberation, I think we need to get back to the motion. So Eric, if you can pull the motion back up, the substitute motion, and then do a recall of the votes, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
so the substitute motion, I'm having trouble with the Word document. It's not reopening up again, so I haven't been able to write it down.
I think if you go to the last slide and maybe read from that,
And then, okay.
and for clarity purposes, I believe the substitute motion includes partial program management for the substitute motion. Is that?
Okay, let's try this. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I see. So, yes, it was to add an RFP for partial program management across all sports to the full program management.
So in addition to the staff recommendations, you wish to add partial management to the RFP proposal as well as full management, correct? Okay, so calling again. Commissioner Axelrod,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
No.
Chair Freeman, Vice Chair Wei,
Yes.
Commissioner Dang.
No.
Dang is no. Okay, doke. That would be with, yeah, is it 3-1? Yeah. Substitute motion does not pass.
It has to be a majority. Do you mind if I just, what I understand is that the regular motion that you would go out a year from now, once you got to ask people if they could do all the sports. Is that what I'm hearing?
I wouldn't be a year from now. We'd start that process as quickly as possible. But yeah, we would look for an organization to take over what we're doing, which is be running all the sports.
All the sports, okay. And the reason I voted yes is that it seems like you might be able to do a parallel of people that would do different sports, just to see who's out there. But that's really your call. But I personally envision that it could come to pass that you run the program, and with the best tennis, or pick whatever, people that are really passionate and very good at that. So that's, I don't know if I made myself clear.
Hey, Mike.
Could just be the battery died.
Okay. All right, let's try again. So what you're proposing is that you would run the entire program, but at the same time, still go out with an RFP as soon as possible. But in the interim, the program is being city-run.
Correct, right. We would focus, especially this upcoming school year, since it starts basically 4 months from now, that we're just going to focus on it, but we will be running the RFP to see if there's someone out there that would, in my proposal, take on the entire program.
Whereas if we were to go with a partial, you'd have to segment which one of the sports are going to be pulled out. There's work involved in doing that, right?
Work involved either way.
Either way, but
the partial one is they would sparse, people would be requesting a particular sport.
Right.
This club wants volleyball, this club wants flag football, and if there's sports left, they either don't operate or they go up in cost so that the city can operate them.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's move to the.
Chair,
Yes.
there's still a
There's still-
motion, motion on the floor.
Okay, so this is for the follow the staff recommendations as is. Were there additional components to that, or just, was the motion just strictly follow it as is? Was it as is? Okay. Commissioner Deng?
Yes.
Okay. Vice Chair Wei?
Yes.
Chair Brown? I'm sorry, Chair Freeman?
Yes.
Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
And Commissioner Axelrod?
No.
Okay. That will be 511, motion carries.
Thank you, staff, for the presentation. All right, last item on the agenda. Pull it up here. Okay, so item number 6 is to review and confirm the revised Parks and Recreation fiscal year 2027 work plan. Okay, where do we stand on that one? Okay, that one should go pretty quickly here, so let me pull up my notes.
Chair, we're going to have Eric pull up the packet, attachment A, to help facilitate this item.
Okay.
Would you like to give some of the background?
Sure. Let me see if I can find my notes on that one. So I think it was on April 7th, is that correct?
April 6th.
6th,
Yeah.
okay. We presented the commission's work plan to the city council for their review and approval, and I was joined at that meeting by Sarah and also Vice Chair Wei. Overall, the council was supportive of the direction and priorities that we had outlined in the work plan. During that discussion, a specific policy question was raised by the council, specifically Councilmember Rectal, regarding the use of artificial turf in playground settings, specifically referencing the installation of Bowl Park. So while staff noted that the surfacing options will be incorporated into full community engagement as part of our upcoming capital improvement projects, Councilmember Rectal emphasized that this is fundamentally a policy question, so there's a lot of discussions that went back and forth on that, on whether artificial turf should be used in playgrounds at all. Again, specifically mentioning Bowl Park. So council stated that the Parks and Recreation Commission is best positioned to evaluate this issue and provided guidance. So as a result, this item has now been incorporated into our work plan. Because of that addition, we need to return to the council for approval of the updated work plan. We don't yet have a timeline for when that will be scheduled, but I'll keep the commission informed as to when that will take place. I should also mention that the other commissions also presented at that same session, and basically no work plans were approved. So we'll all sort of be going back. But I think we were the only, I didn't stay for the others, some of the later sessions, but we'll be going back with that one item for, and I believe the ad hoc for that is?
Natural connectivity.
Okay, right. And I think you guys have both been made aware of that change, correct? Okay. So that's, would the ad hoc like to speak to that addition, change?
Yes, so it was, that one was myself and Commissioner Axelrod, so I can speak for us. And then I believe there's another one in the staff report on nature connectivity.
Oh, yes.
So do you want to do that one first, or on the turf one, in the work plan, we had just discussed the bold language that was added to propose a non-playing field synthetic turf policy covering playgrounds, landscaping, and golf course driving range. Upon speaking with staff and reflecting on the suggestions by council, we have decided to modify this to just cover playgrounds for this year, because that seems most realistic in terms of capacity, and that was really the focus of the discussion. So just to set expectations that it would not necessarily encompass the landscaping and golf course as part of the scope, but we do think that we can come up with some options regarding playgrounds, which seems like the impetus for this suggestion.
Okay, so you're suggesting changing
yes.
Changing it from natural grass pilot to?
And what do we say, non-athletic field field synthetic turf policy, but the scope of it will be limited to playgrounds.
Okay. Staff, you're good with that?
Yes, that's correct. So actually, Eric, if you wouldn't mind editing, if you go down to the high priority, the suggestion is removing, or the recommendation is just including playgrounds only, so removing landscaping and golf course driving range. Does that capture the edit in full, or?
Yes, that was the ad hoc's recommendation of, unless there's other feedback.
Do you mind just scrolling up, just to make sure so the bold language with it, that was included within your packet, do you still want it to state non-athletic field synthetic turf policy, or should it maybe be revised to playground synthetic turf policy?
Yeah, maybe in both, so playground synthetic turf policy, and then also in the goal statement as well.
And that probably is in alignment with what Councilmember Rexall was talking about, so I think that narrows it down.
Yeah, so Eric, if you can remove non-athletic field and replace non-athletic field with playground, I believe. Playground.
Do you want to leave in the synthetic turf? Because that's sort of, is that?
I guess we did go back, we went back and forth on that, because we had natural grass and turf versus synthetic turf, so.
With another, because that kind of locks you into saying that's natural grass and pilot and playground synthetic. Maybe this is, I don't know.
I mean, the policy would be to limit or prohibit the synthetic turf.
I think limit is a good word, right? Did we vote for hybrid model too? Because I wasn't at that meeting when you voted the turf, I think last October.
This is not really.
This is sort of a new added, and rather than putting out a new work plan, I think it was because it had a natural, this isn't related to the playing fields, this is the application of synthetic turf in playgrounds. And so because we were already discussing turf, I think that we thought it was a natural.
Just sort of pulled into it.
Yeah, to add it to this existing goal.
Yeah.
I mean, we could say synthetic turf use policy.
Yeah.
Is that maybe a little bit clearer?
Yeah, maybe that's better. Okay.
And then I'm also seeing, once the goal statement, the high priority content there also just needs to be adjusted. And then removal of non-playing field and replace with playground.
Okay. Okay, and then the other one was, yeah.
And Eric, so we're good with this, it sounds like. If you scroll down to the very last one, there should be new language, again, in bold.
Okay, so that's Vice Chair and Kleinhaus. Okay. And you guys have already discussed this one?
Not really, we're meant to meet, but we both.
I don't believe your mic is on.
Okay, I've got a feeling what they want to know is the scope, right? The city council member, because this is a new ad hoc. They will not really question the wording and et cetera. So what we have right here, I think it's perfectly okay unless we have other suggestions. And I think developing the point highlighted or bolded, developing a guideline for incorporating native plants into both new developments, ongoing maintenance of city properties, including parklands, is sort of the first priority, really. If we want to put that as the first bullet, that should be fine.
Okay, Eric, can you move that up to the first bullet?
The board, yeah, the board bullet is the first priority we should do. It will require very limited staff time too.
Mr. Chairman, as I mentioned earlier,
I just have a question. It says both new development and ongoing maintenance of city, so it's beyond parkland?
Including parkland.
Yeah, but
Yeah, so new developments such as, we were talking about the San Antonio Road developments, et cetera, and to apply with the guideline of the park, 1,000 people per.
the parkland of that,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah,
I just
yes.
think it looks like we're trying to impose guidelines on new development, like
No, yeah,
like
maybe,
apartments
yeah,
and office
okay.
buildings. I feel like that's outside of our scope.
Yeah, good point. I think we should put the parklands, incorporate native plants into the parkland of the new developments. So that the park inside the new developments, which was a discussion point last time. I think that's a better wording. Yeah, the parkland itself.
And that's consistent with the direction that
Yeah.
council, okay,
yeah,
got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not clear. Are we,
So we
are
would-
we editing the
You
bullet?
Bring incorporate native plants into parklands of the new development. Yeah, instead of including parklands. And the rest, I think the city council was asking for full description because this is a new ad hoc. So nothing else need to be changed.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Great.
All right. Finishing up here. Okay, are there any? Okay, is there any commissioner questions, comments, and announcements of future meetings and agendas? No, no, okay. You want to talk about the, let's, are there any Zoom, any after meeting Zoom calls? Hopefully not. On non-agenda items?
There's still one person on Zoom. Let me pull them up here.
Okay, that should be 1 minute, right?
Mm-hmm. This last speaker is Dan G. He'll have 1 minute to speak.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. My name is Dan Garblick. I live on Harker Avenue, 2 blocks from Rinconada Park. I'm speaking on behalf of a group of Rinconada Park parents and community members. We are proposing a small nonprofit operated cafe at Rinconada Park. Palo Alto already has a proven model for this. Ada's Cafe has successfully served Mitchell Park for years. We want the same for Rinconada Park, which generates a lot of foot traffic but has no food or beverage option within a 25-minute walk. We have a unique model where we would run the cafe day to day by local high school students as well as the nonprofit itself, giving them real entrepreneurship and leadership experience in their own community. We have an exact location in mind and a full presentation ready. We are talking with the city planning department, but we are looking for guidance on the path forward, specifically what the official park design process looks like and how the proposal would fit into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no additional speakers at this time.
Okay. Okay, staff, Sarah, future meetings and agendas?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just pulling that up. So for your May 26th meeting, we have tennis and pickleball discussion. We also have the PIO coming back for Foothills Improvement Plan. And additionally, we also, which was scheduled for originally this evening, but had to be pushed, is a PIO for Arrasadero Creek Pipeline. So things may change as things are fluid, but those are what we have currently. We also have within the departmental report a sluice gate update planned, and then for June 23rd, we have second deck study as well as the Measure E site.
Okay, so we have 2 items in June, correct?
Currently.
Right,
That's
currently.
correct.
Okay. All right, with that said, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.